All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome. Welcome. My name is Wanda Rogers, and I'm president of the Greater Bowie Chamber of Commerce. We want to start this morning by doing the Pledge of Allegiance. I'll ask that we focus, protocol is to focus in one area. I will ask everyone to stand so that we can pledge allegiance to the flag. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. First, I'd like to acknowledge the elected officials here, and that we know that we have our mayor, and we also know that we have our state senator. But I wanted to acknowledge County Councilperson Ingrid Watson. Maryland State Delegate District 23, and my favorite delegate, Kim Taylor. Adrian Boafo is supposed to be here, but he's not here yet, but we know he's busy. I also want to acknowledge other officials. We have Al Lott, who is our Bowie City Manager. We have Dwayne Preston, Chief of Police, and our Deputy Chief, Mr. Liberati. I knew it. I didn't want to get it wrong, Mr. Liberati. I also want to acknowledge June Evans of the Bowie BIC. Thank you. Oh, and here's Clinton, my favorite city council person who represents me in District 3, Clinton Truesdale. Thank you. I also want to acknowledge our Greater Bowie Chamber of Commerce sponsors. I thank Courtyard Marriott. They host this event. Thank you, Courtyard. We also have St. John's Properties, Luminous Health, NAI Michael, and Northeast Magla. So with that being said, I'd like to, we're going to introduce the mayor, so I'd like to have Dawn Ridley from Luminous Health please come up to introduce the mayor.
Thank you, Wanda. I'm that person now who has to bring glasses. I can't believe it. Hi, everyone. I'm Dawn Ridley, Vice President of Development for Luminous Health Doctors Community Medical Center. And it is my privilege and honor to introduce our wonderful mayor of Bowie. Timothy J. Adams is an accomplished community leader with more than 30 years of experience in business, government, and philanthropy. On November 20th, 2023, Mr. Adams was sworn into his second four-year term as mayor of the city of Bowie. When first elected in 2019, he was the first African-American mayor in the 138-year history of the city. In 1989, Mr. Adams founded and currently serves as president and CEO of Systems Application Technologies, Inc., SA Tech. SA Tech is headquartered in Maryland and is a premier technology and technical support company that provides services across the globe to clients in the air, land, and naval forces of the DoD. A proud HBC graduate, Mr. Adams holds a BS from Xavier University and an MBA from the University of New Orleans. He received a Doctor of Business, honorary Doctor of Business from Bowie State in May of 2017. He's a lifetime member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. Sorry, couldn't resist. And he's passionate about leveraging his talents and resources to benefit others. Of all of the blessings in his life, none is more cherished to Mayor Adams than his family. He resides in Bowie, Maryland, with his beloved wife, the Honorable Judge Sheila R. Tillerson Adams, retired, and his twins, Timothy and Kayla. In May 2020, his beloved oldest daughter, Tiara, transitioned and is survived by their beautiful grandson, Nehemiah. And I've had the pleasure of spending some time with Nehemiah. He is beautiful. So, in addition to this formal piece of paper, I just want to take a moment to really say thank you to Mayor Adams. He is such an amazing supporter and leader, not only for us in this room and the citizens of Bowie, but for Prince George's County and beyond. He is a long-term supporter of Luminous Health Doctors Community Medical Center. He serves on my board. I lead the Luminous Health Doctors Community Medical Center Foundation, and he has served so long that my attorney is saying, Dawn, you can't, you gotta like enact these term limits. And I'm like, no, if I'm quiet, they won't know that their term expired 3 years ago. So I've been really quiet about that. But I'm just so honored and so happy to be able to introduce him. So with that, I bring you Mayor Timothy Adams.
Thank you. I think we'll be good like that. Can you hear me?
Oh,
yes.
Yes. Perfectly.
All right. Hey, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'd like to say thank you to the Greater Bowie Chamber of Commerce for hosting this gathering, and to each of you who got up early after a long holiday weekend to be here this morning. I truly enjoy doing this speech. The State of the City report is more than just an annual report. It's a chance to pause and reflect. It gives us the opportunity to take stock of our progress, celebrate what we've achieved, and to acknowledge where there are opportunities to adjust and improve. Each of you plays a role in shaping Bowie and making it successful. Your hard work, vision, and resilience have helped to shape this city into what it is today. We used to talk about Bowie being a hidden gem in Prince George's County and the region. There's nothing hidden about it anymore. Others are noticing what we have always done. Bowie is the place to be. You know, whether it's our parks and events, our strong sense of neighborhood, or the spirit of innovation that drives our business community, Bowie stands out. None of this happened overnight. It took collaboration, long hours, thoughtful planning, and most importantly, a shared vision of the future. As a business owner, I know it's tough out there. Despite market volatility, looming tariffs, higher interest rates, and hits to the local economy due to federal layoffs and curtailed spending, local businesses are showing adaptability in the face of such uncertainty. But we are encouraged by the signs of strength that we see as well. People want to live here, and businesses want to set up shop here. Just look at what's happening at Southlake and Melford and Mills Branch Crossing. Bowie has a lot going for it. We're in a great location with convenient access to Baltimore, Annapolis, and Washington, D.C. There is a large and diverse job market in the region. We have proactive and innovative leadership on our city council and among city staff. We are fervent stewards of our local environment, and we believe in developing sustainability. We believe in continuous cycle of planning, improving, and assessing to determine whether Bowie is and what it needs to be. And finally, we ask the hard questions and always have an eye on the bottom line. We also work hard to build community. We're constantly recruiting volunteers for city communities, to help at city events, and to keep the city looking good. We have a host of events throughout the year to involve people in their government and their community through discussions, hearings, and stakeholders meetings. and we like to have fun. In Bowie, there's no shortage of reasons to celebrate. From annual traditions like the Memorial Day Parade, Bowie Fest, Juneteenth Jubilee, the International Festival, and the Old Town Bowie Festival that showcases the very best of our community, to our monthly food truck frenzies. There's always something happening in our city. Beyond the festivities, Bowie continues to earn recognition for its excellence. You know, with a AAA bond rating, annual recognition for preparation of our annual budget document, our police department's national accreditation by ACLEA, the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies, and special recognitions for the innovative programs and multifaceted efforts of our Bowie Green Team and our sustainability staff, including a special Climate and Energy Leadership Award from the Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments for our food waste drop-off program. Others are recognizing Bowie too. Earlier this spring, Redfin named Bowie as one of the top 10 hottest housing markets in the entire United States. Safewise.com recognized Bowie as one of the safest cities in Maryland this month. And just last week, U.S. News and World Report named Bowie one of the top 200 best cities in the nation for 2025 through 2026. And I think that takes a round of applause. Bowie remains financially sound and forward-looking. We have maintained the AAA bond rating since 2010, and that's because of our sound financial policies, healthy revenues, and the strength of our local economy. I firmly believe that whatever decisions we are making now and in the future, it is imperative that we keep these pillars of sound financial management at the forefront of our thinking and decision making. Despite new programs and capital projects, the municipal tax rate for Bowie has not increased since 2011. And the budget we passed on May 19th does not include a property tax increase for the coming fiscal year. Let me say that again. With the newly adopted budget for fiscal year 2026, our tax rate will have remained flat for 15 years. Now, our revenues come from property tax fees, fees, distributions, and grants, and allocations from the federal and state government. As we have seen lately, there can be uncertainty in those sources. We absolutely must continue to make strategic investments in the future of our city, but we must do it responsibly and always with an eye to the bottom line. Speaking of the bottom line, let's talk about the current budget, which is managed by Finance Director Byron Matthews and Assistant Director Loli Ugarini. For fiscal year 2025, our city budget stands at $153 million. The largest part of the budget is for the general fund, which was budgeted at $83,827,000 for fiscal year 25. The remainder of the budget consists of the Equipment Acquisition Fund, the Capital Projects Fund, and the Water and Sewer Fund. Here's how the general fund expenditures break down. 22.33% is invested in public safety, including our nationally accredited police department. 27.73% goes to providing key services like regular trash and recycling collection and street maintenance. Our Public Works Department has also started a new LED street light upgrade program, saving the city energy and maintenance costs. Another 11.4% is spent on parks, recreation, and culture, including managing our recreational facilities and community events like festivals, concerts, farmers markets, and green events. 3.6% is dedicated to social services, but understanding that the state and county provide services as well, but such as services to seniors, family counseling, and mentoring programs. These programs are more important than ever as we work to strengthen the connections that bind our community and support those who need it most. The remaining 35.53% goes to general government, to economic development, fund transfers, and to paying interest on any remaining long-term debts. Our grants division plays a vital role in Bowie's finances. By securing federal and state funding, we can help offset the costs of new programs and infrastructure improvements. Examples include the $1.7 million for a new amphitheater at Allen Pine Park, $840,000 for the water plant, or the $100,000 grant for nutrient removal at the wastewater treatment plant that the city has received for 7 years running. But we also know that those grants are not guaranteed. We're keeping a close eye on what's happening in Washington, D.C. to see how federal cutbacks may affect these grant programs. Now, I need to make a mention about the legislation impacting the Bowie Racecourse training. HB 1524 passed in 2024 legislative session. It changed the conveyance, boy, that was hard. Conveyance, the conveyance date of the transfer of the Bowie Racetrack property to the city to be on or before December 31st of 2025. To that end, I am pleased to announce that Governor Moore placed $6.2 million in the state's capital budget for the construction, expansion, renovation, and repair of the Bowie Racecourse Training Center property and Rosecraft Raceway. The funding will be sent as a grant to the Prince George's County Executive and County Council for distribution effective June 1st. And I'd like to thank our council members and everybody here who will make sure, everybody will make sure we get this done. Now, when the city adopts an annual budget, it also adopts a capital improvements program, or CIP, along with it. The CIP is a 6-year plan of how the city will spend money on capital projects like new water lines, making improvements to the Bowie Golf Course, replacing the Allen Pine Amphitheater, and building a new ice arena to replace the aging facility now at Allen Pine. These are necessary projects that have gone through a public input process, extensive internal review, including needs analyses, financial review, and in many cases, an engineering review before ever coming before the City Council. We support these projects and are excited about them. They will enhance the quality of life in Bowie, and we have a plan for how to pay for them. But now, in the interest of transparency, there is another extremely costly project that is moving forward. A majority of the council supports it, but it has not gone through the same type of review and fiscal analysis that our other projects have. It commits the city to the purchase of vacant commercial property for $12 million. Now, people know that I'm strongly opposed to this until a full financial analysis has been conducted and a determination has been made that the city can manage this purchase at the very same time that it carries out all of the other projects in the CIP and borrows money to build a new ice arena. I am not able to share more details until the matter comes before the City Council in a public meeting on June 2nd. But suffice to say that I have grave reservations about the purchase. Now, in all honesty, I could not sit here before you today and talk about the final financial state of the city without acknowledging this project and my concerns about how it will impact the city's ability to borrow funds now and in the future. No project or purchase can take place in a vacuum without considering the overall impact to the budget and the long-term financial health of the city. But I will assure you, whatever our city council approves, we are known to and we will engage 100% to make sure that it's successful. Now, let's shift my focus for a moment to talk about what truly makes Bowie unique, and that's the people. You know, our population has risen to 58,329. The percentages of people identifying as African American, Hispanic or Latino, and 2 or more races continues to rise. More residents are speaking languages other than English at home, now up to 15.4%. The Hispanic or Latino population is now estimated at 8.2% of the total population. 9.7% of Bowie whites have served in the armed forces. And I would like to give all of those who have served a little round of applause. When Melford, South Lake, and Mill Branch Crossing are fully built out, we expect to have 3,500 more housing units, adding approximately 9,141 more residents to Bowie. And education remains the cornerstone of our community, with nearly half of residents holding a bachelor's degree or higher. The median household income has climbed to $138,787, well above Maryland's median of $94,991. Despite this figure, just over 3% of our residents still live below the poverty line. While 3% is far below the 9.6% of Marylanders living in poverty, it is concerning, and we must be mindful of this portion of our population and do all that we can to support and strengthen them. Over the last year, we've launched new initiatives and expanded existing programs to better serve our residents, including expanded camps and recreational programs, including a new youth tennis camp coming in July, and a Junior Ranger series for elementary and middle school age students, teaching them about parks, safety, and nature. Seminars at the Senior Center that focus on vital topics, from preventing falls at home to preparing for severe weather events. We have a new reduced fees program for recreational activities, which allows income qualifying residents to receive a 50% discount on city-sponsored youth camps and classes at both the city gymnasium and the ice arena. A successful teen job bank, which helped approximately 50 homebound neighbors during this past winter's program. Mentoring and counseling programs at the Youth and Family Services, arts, education, and community outreach grants to local organizations, and $18,000 in scholarships for students facing financial hardship. Homeownership in Bowie is strong, with 85.4% residents owning their homes, substantially higher than the state average of 67.7%. The local housing market continues to gain momentum. Last year, 1,282 homes were sold in Bowie, 720 single-family detached 454 townhomes, and 180 condos. The lowest price sale was $145,000. The highest price sale was $1.8 million, and yes, that was in the city. You know, the highest prices that we pay here in the city, I think is a good indicator of how people visit the city and see what we have to offer. You know, the average single-family detached home sale was $591,000. The average townhouse sale was over $512,000. And the average residential condo sales price was over $387,000. There's big progress at South Lake, which is just south of Central Avenue on US 301, as the residential population there grows. Giant Food has relocated from the Collington Plaza Shopping Center to its new home in South Lake. The Sheetz gas station and convenience store is open and is a popular stop for commuters. Several new businesses are set to open later this year, including Chase Bank, Jersey Mike's, Lido Pizza, In-Style Herring, and many, many other ones. While just outside the city limits, the outdoor sports complex, Liberty Sports Park, is a very popular and has become a unique and complementary anchor to South Lake. In its first year, this tournament-grade athletic complex attracted over 344,000 visitors, who are also eating and shopping, and in some cases, staying in our city. On the residential side, there are also several exciting developments at South Lake. All apartments and their corresponding clubhouses are open. All 128 condos have been sold and are rapidly nearing completion. 134 of the 344 single-family homes have been sold, with 74 already occupied. Approximately 300 of the 593 townhomes have also been sold. Work on the mixed-use development at Mill Branch Crossing, located just south of Maryland 197 on the west side of US 301, began last year. Residential construction continues. They have already sold 91 out of the 190 townhomes to be constructed. Mill Branch Crossing still has 408 condos in the pipeline. On the commercial side, recent pad leases have been signed with several new establishments, including Popeyes, Chipotle, Hibachi Express, Nothing Bundt, and a 45,000 square foot dash-in convenience store, gas station, and car wash. Not only do we have a lot of new businesses up and coming, we also have vacant properties that need new tenants. As of January 1st, 2025, there is 3.57 million square feet of retail space in the city and 1.8 million square feet of office space. Vacancy rates are 4.5% for retail. The largest vacant retail space is the former Big Lots in the Bowie Gateway Center, and 13.1% of office space is vacant. The city actively partners with commercial real estate brokers to promote Bowie and assist in leasing efforts for office and flex building. We have an active advertising campaign in retail industry publications to promote the city of Bowie and to support the leading leasing efforts of our shopping center and retail property owners. We're excited to welcome new businesses to Bowie and see them grow and succeed. Because Bowie does not require a local business license and landlords aren't required to report new tenants, it can be challenging to keep up with every business that sets up shop here. While this approach reduces bureaucracy, it also limits our visibility into the evolving business landscape. Gathering all accurate information about businesses requires outreach and a lot of lead work by our business retention specialist, Tiara Andrews, and our economic development director, John Henry King. John, where are you at? There you go. All right. We are continually working to attract new businesses, support those already here, and inspire entrepreneurs to pursue their goals here in Bowie. Key business resources include the Bowie Business Information Center, the Bowie BIC, which provides customized business support and on-site professional counseling. Can we get a hand for the Bowie BIC? We have the Small Business Assistance, Counseling, and Training Programs through the Small Business Development Center, the Maryland Women's Business Center, and the Maryland Apex Accelerator. We have a business loan program with $590,000 available to lend for business purposes. This loan fund is managed by FSC First, so that Bowie loan dollars can be combined with county, state, and bank money. In April, we held the first ever Bowie Restaurant Week. We had over 20 restaurants around the city participate and gained a good bit of regional news coverage. We're thrilled by its success and plan to make it an annual event. As excited as we are about new developments on the edge of our new borders, we also believe it is important to maintain interest and investment in our older developed parts of the city. That is why the Economic Development Committee and city staff are working on reimagining the town center areas, including the former Regal Cinema, restaurants, hotel, and county park and ride lot. And on the other side of 197, the Macy's, the former Sears, and the four main buildings of Bowie Town Center. We also are working on a revitalization plan to help return Old Town Bowie to the lively center of commerce that it was when Bowie was originally founded. Working with Incubate Community Development Partners, Old Bowie is being re-envisioned as a makerspace, an area where artists, crafters, and makers of all things can find a place to operate their business, and where residents will find a welcoming, vital business community. I talked about our financial status, our residents, and our businesses. Now I want to talk to you all about the individuals who keep us safe here in the city of Bowie. Our police department. The department is under the leadership of Chief Dwayne Preston. Chief. And Deputy Chief Robert Liberati. Our police department has long embraced the principles of community policing. Officers are constantly finding new ways to connect with residents, whether through quarterly community matters meetings held in neighborhoods across the city, or programs like the Citizens Police Academy, the Explorers Program, Coffee with a Cop, and the National Night Out Against Crime. These initiatives underscore the department's dedication to being an active part of the community they serve. While Bowie continues to experience relatively low levels of violent crime, we are not immune to crime trends. Recently, we've seen an uptick in the thefts from vehicles and shoplifting. In response, our police department has worked with local retail loss prevention managers to implement targeted strategies which have already led to a decrease in these incidents. And Chief, I want to give you another hand on that. The department continues to face challenges in recruiting, as every police department does across the country. To attract top talent, the city engaged with a professional marketing firm to bolster recruitment efforts. These strategies are making an impact. Currently, we have 7 new officers enrolled in the police academy and expected to graduate this October. And we have received over 70 new applications. So, as you may have surmised, I am very proud of our accomplishments. These initiatives, programs, and acts of service reflect the heart of who we are, and they reaffirm what more and more people are discovering every day. Bowie is the place to live, work, and do business. In time of uncertainty, communities either pull back or push forward. And Bowie has chosen to move boldly ahead. We're not only adapting, we're growing stronger, more connected, and more innovative. Bowie's strength lies in its people, and together we're building a future we can all be proud of. Now, it is a privilege to serve as your mayor, and I'm honored to work alongside such an exceptional group of individuals on the Bowie City Council. Those are Council members Dennis Brady and Michael Esteve, Roxy Endemamadu, our own Wanda Rogers, Clinton Truesdale, and Mayor Pro Tem DeFore Wolfe. Each of my colleagues brings a wealth of experience, insight, and passion to the table. Though we do not agree with each other 100% of the time, together we are united in our dedication to maintaining a city that reflects the values and aspirations of our residents and businesses. And I'd like our county council member Ingrid to take a quick wave. All right. And I would like our city council members who are present to please take a stand real quick. Now, I also want to take a moment to express my gratitude to the employees of the city of Bowie, who are led by City Manager Alfred Locke. There we go. Finally get to really get him to do what I ask him. Just kidding. He was ready with a comment. Whether employees are maintaining our parks, collecting trash and recycling, ensuring public safety, managing city operations, or engaging with residents, their efforts are critical to the smooth functioning of our community. Their commitment to excellence and services does not go unnoticed. And it is in their quiet, consistent dedication that really helps make Bowie not just a place to live, but a place to truly belong. As we look ahead, we know that challenges are inevitable. Our debt policy for funding capital projects is moving from a pay-as-you-go approach to annual debt, which has the potential to hamstring our future generations. Our infrastructure is aging. Over 20% of the employment-age population in Bowie is estimated to be employed by the federal government, which is not as stable a job as it has traditionally been. Similarly, we are seeing substantially more turnover in our own workforce, with 4 of 7 department heads being new to their position in the last couple of years, and 41% of the workforce being on the job less than 5 years. But I must say, we have found some excellent, and I say that again, excellent, department heads that we are proud that they chose to be here in Bowie. And thank you for all you do with that, Mr. Locke. Now, there is a major change for an organization, that has been known for its stable workforce. But we face these challenges with confidence and optimism for the future. Our local economy remains strong. Our residents are engaged and, yes, quite resilient. You know, our vision for the future is bold, focused, and inclusive. We are committed to continuous improvement, not just maintaining what we have, but raising the bar, pushing boundaries, and setting the standard that other cities aspire to reach. Thank you for being here this morning. Your presence and your involvement are what truly fuel our progress. Together, we will move forward stronger, smarter, and more united than ever before. I would like to take a brief moment to acknowledge Madam State's Attorney and candidate for County Executive. If you would, Madam, you can go for it. Thank you for doing that. You know, let's keep building a buoy, one buoy, that we can still be proud of. I think there is an example here in our city that far exceeds what people understand. You know, we are a city that makes everyone feel welcome. We are a city of love, compassion, and brotherhood. We are a city dedicated, for many of us, the oaths we took, to support the Constitution and respect the rule of law and supporting our citizens. Now, with that, I better end because everybody's starting to go to their phones. I see it. Let me stop. But you know what? Again, it has been an honor, a privilege to be here this morning. It is an honor and a privilege to report that the city of Bowie is doing just fine. Thank you. Councilwoman Rogers.
Let's give another round of applause to my mayor. On behalf of the Greater Bowie Chamber of Commerce, we would like to welcome our next county executive. We're glad you're here. Next, we will have introduction of our state senator, Ron Watson, and after Senator Watson finishes, then we'll have questions and answers.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
My name is Terry Rogers. I am the considerably lesser half of Wanda Rogers. Thank you, Wanda, for giving me this position, this surprise assignment this morning, to introduce my friend and Senator, the Honorable Ronald L. Watson, known as Ron Watson. Ron was born on April 30th, 1966 in Seat Pleasant, Maryland. He is an American politician who has served as a member of the Maryland State Senate representing District 23 since 2021. A member of the Democratic Party, he previously represented District 23B in the Maryland House of Delegates from 2019 to 2021. And he served on the Prince George's County Board of Education from 2006 to 2010. Senator Watson was born in Washington, D.C. His parents are both retired school principals. Watson graduated from Central High School and attended Morgan State University, a proud HBCU alumni, where he earned a Bachelor of Science degree in electrical engineering in 1991. He earned that degree from Binghamton University, and he's earned his master's degree in advanced technology in 1993, and he holds a Doctor of Philosophy degree in systems science in 1991, and at George Washington University, where he earned a Master of Business Administration degree in 2002. He's a member of that other fraternity that was founded in 1911, Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity, which is a great fraternity. They just weren't patient enough to hang around until November. Senator Watson served in the U.S. Army Reserves from 1989 to 2006, and since 2004, Senator Watson has owned his own business, which is Watson Management Corporation. Ron is married to Prince George's County Council member for District 4, the esteemed Ingrid Watson. I think she must have stepped out. And they have 3 children and 1 grandchild. So with that, Senator Watson, good morning.
Somebody say Kappa Alpha Psi. Hey, good morning, everyone, and I want to thank all of you for being here. Thank the Chamber for the invitation. I also want to thank the Mayor for his comments on the state of the city. Very, very inclusive. I'm going to be very brief. I want to break this up into 3 pieces. Kind of a summary, what we did, and what we have to focus on coming up. And then I'll let you get on your way. The 447th legislative session of the General Assembly concluded on April 7th, marking the end of one of the most consequential 90-day periods in a generation. We entered the 2025 session with 2 overarching tasks: tackling a multi-billion-dollar budget deficit amidst federal chaos, and advancing policy to reduce Marylanders' energy bills in the short, medium, and long term. I'm pleased to report that the Senate met the moment. At a time of economic uncertainty, federal dysfunction, and rising energy costs, we chose to lead with clarity, compassion, and a commitment to protecting the future of every Maryland family. Accomplishing these objectives while passing legislation to improve the lives of our state's residents required honest and very difficult conversations about our fiscal responsibilities and enduring priorities. And from the moment we entered Annapolis on January 8th, our work focused on adapting to new realities while maintaining the stability of Maryland individuals, families, and the small businesses we all rely on. In the wake of the transition to a new presidential administration in January, the Assembly faced seismic shifts in policy coming from Washington, culminating in nearly a $350 million reduction in expected personnel, corporate, and sales tax revenues over a 2-year period due entirely to federal chaos and job losses. In addition, the state learned of up to $418 million in federal funds being withheld from our public schools, $305 million of which school systems had already spent, in addition to $330 million in transportation funding summarily pulled back despite grant agreements. These drastic and unprecedented actions spurred the General Assembly to redouble our commitments to core Maryland values, including reinforcing Marylanders' constitutional protections, safeguarding access for health care, forcing protections for Maryland's immigrant communities, and accelerating the state's transition to a cleaner, cheaper energy future. And so when federal support wavered, we did our best to provide clarity and a vision for the future. That is the overview, folks. The things that we had to do, you have to understand the budget situation, and I've always been very honest, is a function of several things coming together. There was overspending at the state level. That overspending was due to the fact that we wanted to fulfill commitments that were made. When those commitments were made, we thought that there would be a revenue stream to fund the vast majority of those. The federal government decided to stop payments that we were anticipating that would continue all the way through January 2026, and in doing so required us to make some major adjustments. The adjustments we had to make, we had to close this budget gap, and this is the part where I really do not like raising taxes nor fees. If somebody says we didn't raise taxes, we raised fees, guess what? They raised taxes. So let me just summarize what happened for you and how the General Assembly was able to close the gap. 2 new tax brackets were created for high earners, 6.25% for income over $501,000 to $1 million, and 6.5% for income exceeding $1 million. Capital gains tax, 2% was imposed on capital gains exceeding $350,000. Itemized deductions. There was a big conversation about itemized deductions. The governor wanted to get rid of itemized deductions and do a standard general deduction. So what he wanted to do was to double the standardized deduction. And in doing so, that would have given a big chunk of revenue. But I had to put my thinking cap on, and I had a call with 80 churches. And I don't know if you know, the 23rd district has the largest footprint of churches than anywhere else in the state. We don't need any more churches. We need businesses that generate revenue. That's what we need. But in talking to our churches, they were talking about the significant hit that they would get in those folks who tithe and do the offerings, and the amount of revenue that they typically generate into the year. And those folks, the big donors, probably would be a little more reluctant to provide those if they were restricted on how much that they could deduct. And so, again, if you're used to deducting a certain amount of each year and that gets reduced, guess what? That's a tax on you.
Yeah.
And so, what we were able to do is to see how we resolve that. The itemized reductions are reduced by 7.5% of the excess of federal adjusted gross income over certain thresholds. And that's $100,000 for married individuals filing separately, or $200,000 for all other filers. And that's going to be kind of rolled in over time to minimize that burden. There was a 3% sales and use tax imposed on certain data, information technology services, and software publishing services based on the North American Industry Classification System, or the NAICS code that we are very, very well familiar with. The original 3% would have been a huge hit to a vast majority of our IT firms, and it was narrowed in scope, and I have to give the specific definition of how it impacts local businesses. But it's all about where information is consumed. It's about getting information from the cloud and these types of things that have not been taxed to date, but look like they would be an opportunity for us to be able to derive some revenue to try to help close the gap. And unfortunately, we have a large amount of IT firms here, in the Prince George's County region, all right? Lastly, there was a new tire fee of $5 a tire. Vehicle emission inspection fee was increased from $14 to $30. Sales tax extended to vending machine sales. Sports betting tax increased from 15 to 20%. Cannabis sales tax increased from 9% to 12%. Rental vehicle tax introduced at 3.5%, and vehicle excise tax increased from 6% to 6.5%. Those are some tough conversations. And not being on budget and tax and appropriations where a bulk of these conversations happen, it's very challenging, because as we're working through legislation through our specific committees, I sit on the Education, Energy, and Environment Committee, we get these last minute on the floor. We have a very small amount of time to hold the bill, let's do some research on this, let's come back with amendments and those types of things. And these are what the House and the Senate kind of agreed to, okay? Now, this fixed it this year. The problem is, we don't have a fix permanent, because one, the future income and decisions made from the Fed government are still yet to be known. I know that there was a budget passed by the House, it still has to go through the Senate. We were told to be on call, because we may have to go back in September for a potential special session to look at what the final impact would be to the state of Maryland based on decisions made at the government level, and then how that flows down to Prince George's County, right? So we know we have tough times ahead. We know that the state of Maryland was downgraded in one of the financial reports, lost a AA rating, but the others, remain the same. And the same thing kind of happened at the county level. All that means is it's going to cost us a little more to borrow money for some of our projects, but that will not impede our ability to move forward and our progress. This year, we were able to bring home some bacon. I am proud to report, as the mayor stated, called him governor, you heard that? The 6.2 million for Bowie Racetrack.
Don't give them any ideas.
The 2013 was very instrumental in bringing that 6.2 million home. But I want you to understand, 6.2 million is not for Bowie Racetrack. 6.2 million is for Bowie Racetrack and Rosecroft Racetrack. All right, it's for the both. And so the city's access to that 6.2 million is going to be contingent on what they provide to the county council and the county executive as a plan and what they're going to do. And so I'll say it again because we have all our folks here. While we're reimagining Old Bowie, while we're reimagining the Bowie Town Center, we need to reimagine that racetrack and figure out what we can do. And so I leave that up to the trusted hands, in the city. We also gave $200,000 to Bowie State University to continue the use of their firearm detection platform. Remember a couple years ago during homecoming, both Bowie State University and Morgan State had a shooting on campus. And immediately we went into action. How can we stop this from happening again? We utilized AI technology. A gentleman by the name of Bernard Wright from Prince George's County. Very, very sharp guy, won Innovator of the Year a couple years ago. And he developed this technology that has been in use at Bowie State University, and we haven't had another issue of that. He's actually rolling his technology out to other colleges and universities as well as our schools. The Bowie Center for the Performing Arts, we gave them $20,000. I don't know if many of you know, of course, Bowie Center for the Performing Arts is adjacent to Bowie High School. Everybody familiar with Joe Clair?
Yeah.
Joe Clair's comedy show has been the single factor keeping that place solid. And you guys need to know the value that that brings. I've been getting calls to see if there was a way to modify the usage of Bowie Center for Performing Arts to make it more commercial-like, but still adhere to the responsibilities of being able to assist children at the various schools, pull in and those types of things. Because they have the ability, if given the right level of investment, to be transformed into dinner theaters, to do a variety of things. And right now, Bowie Center for Performing Arts is pretty much all we have, in our area. And so we really want to continue to leverage that. Bowie High School security system. I want to thank, our Chief of Police, Dwayne Preston, down there, who allowed me to come to the city's Public Safety Commission, and I asked, what can we do? How can we make Bowie High School more successful? And we committed to giving $100,000 to Bowie High School to enhance their security system. And so for me, it's great to try to help all the schools, but my priority is in the 23rd District. And I have two high schools, Frederick Douglass and Bowie High School. So this year was Bowie's. Next year we're going to work on Frederick Douglass High School. Bowie State University Thurgood Marshall Library, $2.2 million. We have to continue that. This has been very, very challenging, in the face of reduced revenue coming into the state and being able to fund these. We wanted to give Dr. Breaux what we could so that she can continue the progress of that. Samuel Ogle Middle School, we paid for some digital signing there. The Diamond Foundation of Prince George's County, that is the organization that purchased the old Bowie Grill. There are a lot of modifications that needed to be done inside that facility, a lot. That restaurant has been operating, has been a mainstay in the city of Bowie for many, many years. But when you go in there and you start pulling the wall down, almost everything was out of spec and out of code. And so that required a substantially more direct investment that we had anticipated, and I was able to go back and see what I could do to help that organization out. In terms of listening to what the residents had to say about a variety of things, I went into action. You all remember 2 years ago, through the leadership of Council Member Ingrid Watson, we had Bowie State University's crime forum, huge crime forum. And we talked about a variety of things. It took 2 years, but this year we were able to pass our organized retail theft bill. Okay. And that bill was developed, in response to the rash of robberies and retail thefts statewide. We actually had full participation from the city of Bowie, not just Councilmember Watson, but Chief Preston, Chief Malik Aziz, State's Attorney, our next county executive, Aisha Brave Boyd, Sheriff John Carr, and even the superintendent of schools with 200 residents. So we're very, very happy about that. And in a nutshell, what that means is that these folks who know that they can go in and steal anything, and if it's less than $1,500, it is a misdemeanor. If they go in with a group of people, now we can aggregate everything stolen, and if it's over $1,500, everyone gets charged with a felony. We also found that these rings are able to go from county to county, district to district throughout the state and do the same thing. Now we're going to have a tool to be able to aggregate all of those together so they can be charged in any jurisdiction and bring those charges together. We also had an issue related to squatters. I live in Beechtree, and I know for a fact that when someone puts up a for rent sign, midnight at night, that sign comes down. In the morning you wake up, there's a family who has moved in purporting to be the legal occupants of the property. I had to work with our judges to make sure that there was still due process. We couldn't just kick these folks out. Yes, there had to be due process, and there's something called wrongful detainer. But what we were able to work out is that once someone came forward with the thought that someone is illegally in their property, this moves up the food chain and has to be acted on within 10 business days. 10 business days. And then upon a verdict being given, the sheriffs now have 4 days to go ahead and make it happen and return that property to the rightful owner. And that's a big deal. The reason why it was so difficult is because we have folks out here who are very, very crafty and are able to use fake leases and other fake documents purporting to be the owners and giving you a lease. They'll walk away with the money, you're in a property, and then the true owner comes and says, who are you, right? And so we have to deal with these kinds of things. The other piece is, many of you have complained to me about the traffic on 301, right? All right, we had to dig into that a little bit. So here's the deal with the traffic on 301. State roads are state responsibilities. However, the state does not make any decisions that impact the congestion on the state roads. Those decisions are made by the county council. All the development and zoning decisions are made by the county council. There's something called an impact fee. The impact fee in Prince George's County outside the Beltway is about $20,000 per unit. All right? And so when I talked to the developers over at South Lake the other day, they're expecting 1,600 units. That's $32 million. That is supposed to be set aside in a special account to be used for road improvements, public safety, school enhancements. That's what it's supposed to be used for. And so when folks now ask me, why is the road so congested? I have to look at the county council and say, where's the money? So it hasn't been properly tracked. The bill that we were able to get passed requires every county in the state of Maryland now to put on their websites how much money they're pulling in impact fees from specific developments, where those developments were located, and where those funds go. Why do we want to do that? The mayor talked about Amber Ridge, Mill Branch, South Lake. We have so much prime development going on here in our district. We can't allow those impact fees to go to someplace else. They deserve to be here with a community that's going to be experiencing the impacts. We put a bill in place for that. Two final ones. We had a young man who resided in Bowie. He was a postal service worker. His name was Romano Russell. His wife's name was Mia Russell. He was on his regular route delivering mail, stopped at the Crofton Library, went in and used the bathroom, and passed away. This bill, called the Romano Russell Act, ensures that there's an AED device in every public school, and every public library, just like it is in every school. Because if we have a chance to save lives, we should be able to take that. And so Mia Russell came to me, she shared her story, and Adrian Boafo, Delegate Boafo, and I were able to put that bill together, which passed. And the last one, we call it the Municipalities Enforcement and Ordinance Resolution. So last year, we were able to allow the county council to increase their fees if you violated an ordinance to $5,000. But we didn't do it at the municipality level, right? We have some people that work at the municipality levels and they'll litter, they'll do all kinds of things. And if it's only $1,000, they look at it as a cost of doing business. It's not painful enough, right? So this bill, what this does is raises the levels of which the municipalities can dictate as fines and fees and those types of things to the same level as the county council, right? So those were just the 5 bills I wanted to go over because these are the ones that I heard directly from the residents. You got folks that'll put 25, 30 bills in. I just need 3, 4 good ones that really make a difference. Lastly, I said I wanted to talk about the future, and I just want to talk briefly about AI, all right? I sit on the information technology, biotech, and information technology, biotech, and technological innovation workforce for the state of Maryland. We spend a lot of time on AI. And you have to understand that this is going to change a lot of things. Let me talk about education first, because we stood and we defended the blueprint for education. We said that our commitments that we had already put in place needed to move forward. We could not stop. And one of the big things, even though the governor wanted to pull back some of the specific pieces of the blueprint, we fully funded it because we were funding community schools. And community schools are schools that receive their funding based on concentrations of poverty. And we found, and I had a conversation a little earlier with some gentlemen in the back, you know, why are we spending so much on schools, and why is Prince George's County schools still second from the bottom and all these things? And when I got on the floor of the Senate to defend this bill, I told them very clearly, you cannot compare Prince George's County with Kent County. Kent County has 5 schools. Prince George's County has 200 something. It's apples and oranges. You can't compare Kent County, which is very nuanced, with Prince George's County that has the highest number of kids, poverty and English language learners, and free and reduced meals, and special education, and all these other things. These are some of the things that are very more pronounced in Baltimore City and Prince George's County. So the old metrics that we look at for evaluating the school system, we need to throw them out the window. We're looking at different ways to evaluate performance, which is why the blueprint is so important, because we have what is called the Accountability Information Board, that our Accountability Implementation Board that's going to be responsible for creating all the metrics to determine if we're moving in the right direction, if we're doing the right thing. But let me just lastly say this about our education system. 20 years ago when I was on the school board and I represented Bowie then, I was very loud about parents need to do their jobs and stop putting all the responsibilities on our schools, all right? Fast forward today, we're spending even more money on our schools and parents still aren't doing their jobs. Why do I say that? It's because the schools have now become the village. And you guys need to understand, when we talk about the amount of funding going into schools, the schools are now responsible for healthy meals, psychiatrists, psychologists, feminine products, health care, mental issues, not just the general guidance counselor, principal, and everything. The schools have become everything. When you hear the term wraparound services, I want you to really know that encompasses everything that traditionally our village was supposed to provide. It has become that. And unfortunately, there's some parents that says, let school systems handle it. And if the school system steps back and say, we're not going to handle it, we're going to have a lost generation. We can't do that. So we have to make some really, really tough decisions. But that being the case, we do have to reinstill in the mindset of our young folks what values look like, what family looks like, what respect looks like, and those types of things. Because we rarely have the conversation that is applicable to black folks, that our kids have really lost something in their upbringing. And I don't want to get on the soapbox and talk about that here, but that's got to occur. Back to AI. It's been suggested that 10 years from now, the biggest thing that you can purchase is going to be an Android for your home. An Android for your home. Can you believe that? I love technology. The mayor knows I love technology. But if you know how these large language models are trained, you give them a whole bunch of data, And then they learn how the data is connected, so you ask a question, it automatically knows what to do. But you can do the same thing today by taking a robot, AI robot, and giving them a bunch of tasks to do and let them play around with it. And after a while, they're going to figure out how to do it as well. These things are already rolling out in some of these foreign countries, guys. If you look at some of the technology, you're able to put an earpiece in and talk to it on the fly and answer any question you want. You're able to take your phone and point it at any painting you want. What is that? Oh, that's a Picasso, painted in such and such, such and such, by this, such, whatever you want. And so what I say is, science and technology, STEM, is so vitally important. But as we look to relieve our reliance on federal government jobs, as our grandparents all told us, you get that good government job, you're good, right? As we look to relieve that, and the governor has put millions of dollars into quantum computing and IonQ and those types of things, you have to remember, if anybody in technology goes out there, the top 3 jobs right now, cloud computing, cyber, and AI. This is where we're going. And so I want you all, I say all of that to be sensitive to the fact that things are changing, and the state can't absorb all of these folks who are going to lose their jobs. They can't. We have to make a pivot to what the future really looks like and be prepared for it. You know, I never thought that with a PhD, a couple master's degrees in science and tech, I would still be out here like, what's next for me? But I've had to level up, as they say it in the IT industry, and get my AI certification. I continue to do so. So this is going to impact all of us. But if we stay focused and we stay, you know, keep our values in front of us, I think we'll continue to be successful. And so I'll continue to give you guys updates. Anybody want a handout of this? I brought maybe 25 copies that you're welcome to take with you. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. And again, Juan, I thank you for the invitation. And Ms. Mayor, thank you for allowing me to be on the stage.
Well, stay up front. So we do have time for some questions and answers, so I'll ask Mr. Mayor and Senator Watson to come up front to entertain any questions that may come from the audience. Thank you.
I'd like to ask you to please, any really difficult questions, to direct them to the senator. No, are there any questions? All the way in the back, Ms. Carrington.
I won't be shy. And following your direction, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to address this to the Senator. Senator Watson, you explained to us because everyone heard about the downgrading in our bond rate. Was that for the entire United States or only specific to Maryland? And also, if you could mention that Fitch still keeps us at triple level bond rate.
Yeah. So we're still trying to figure out what the ultimate impact would be. So we got 4 major rating agencies: Moody's, Fitch, S&P, and then there's another one. Moody's is the tough guy, right? Moody's downgraded us. They downgraded DC, and I think even the United States was downgraded this year, right?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So we don't yet know what all these impacts are going to be. These things are happening real time. We're trying to figure it out. But when I know, Mr. Harrington, I'll make sure you know.
Thank you, Senator.
Any other questions? I see a hand from the delegate.
Just thank you, appreciate you both. You mentioned the Regal Theater project. I thought that was a done deal. Didn't a church buy that property? Is there still some, is that still going on?
At this time, because it hasn't come before the city council, which it will at our next city council meeting, I really can't get into any details about that until it comes before the city council, before our meeting. And that will be held on June 2nd, I believe.
Okay, I think I plan to be in that one. And also, second question has to do with how is one of the ways in which Bowie's looking to grow potentially is adding other additional communities. You know, there's a lot of communities that say they live in Bowie, but they're not necessarily, right? So, you know, like even my community, I'm a block away from your footprint, your boundary. So is there an effort to bring those other communities in to potentially, you know, add to the coffers of Bowie? Or is that something that's not a plan?
That is something that we've looked at, and actually, the reality is that the communities need to be able to approve being annexed into the city. And we are always looking at opportunities, people who would like to be in Bowie, particularly if you have a Bowie zip code, to be a part of the city. Because as you know, it gets to be a question when people say, well, why are these services being done and I live across the street and I'm not getting, well, you know, that goes back to how the lines are drawn. But more importantly, you know, it's almost easy to tell when someone actually lives in the city of Bowie as opposed to Bowie outside. Because if you get your trash picked up twice a week, you live in the city of Bowie. So, but thank you, yeah. But I want to say to the HOAs and to the communities that we are always willing to talk about annexing them in. And I think we can get with the city manager and the city staff to make sure that we support you on that. Okay?
I think a lot of communities all over would love
Yes.
to be a part of the city of Bowie. I just don't think they know that there's a potential to be annexed in.
Yes, thank you. Question over here.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, I guess the question for you and Ron, excuse me.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, excuse me, I have a frog here. I said this question for you and Ron. We talked about development. You talked about the housing stock and how it's added value, it's added money to our coffers. We talked about congestion on 301. One of the things that I see that makes for a significant disconnect is moving people within the city. The average person only travels 1.2 to 1.3 miles on average on a daily basis. And I'm wondering, what can we do, or what's in the coffers to fund some kind of study to give us more options for hiking and biking and walking trails? You go to many other communities, they spend a disproportionate money being able to move people from one place to the other. We've got all these developments in there, all of these individual pods separated by highways. And arguably, those folks who want to take an Uber or drive are clogging the roads when in fact, with e-bikes, scooters, the need to walk more for many of us, we could perhaps look at a more substantial network to have folks have some multimodal transportation options other than getting in their car and driving. So I'm just wondering if that's on anyone's radar. What can we do about that? I mean, lots of effort, money in other communities have been put in such an initiative. Thank you, sir.
And that's an excellent question. The good part is in Bowie, in the city, we are working very hard and very diligently at our trails and connecting them all throughout the city to actually do exactly what you're talking about. Make it what I would refer to as a walkable community, where we're all connected, where you can hopefully, at the end of it, get from one corner of the city to the other corner of the city, just using our bikeways and pathways and trails to do so. So we are actively doing that as we speak.
Also, we also have an extensive bike network throughout the city. Red Wine Coker, our transportation planner, just had a bike to work day. So we're doing that already.
Yes.
We committed access to it.
And what the city manager was talking about, you know, the bike pass, what we're doing there. We just had a bike to work day where we're saying for people to be able to just bike to work. You know, so we are addressing that, and we're constantly working on that.
Thank you.
Okay. Question?
Yes.
Question, you kind of intrigued me about the impact fees, and obviously that's been a big problem based on my own studies within Prince George's County, and kind of how can those impact fees be more enforced. So I do like the fact that we're shaping information, meaning being more transparent with how those fees are being broken down and how they're being used. But in relation to that, with kind of piggybacking a little bit, is there a way to be able to, in those impact fees, establish some kind of way that developers can actually be a part of making these, riding bike trails or roadways, or, kind of shaping it so we can have more walkable communities, or communities with bike lanes, things of that nature, because that's where we're going around the country. Kind of feel like we're a little behind, obviously, with respect to bike trails or bike paths or bike lanes. But is there a way to be able to kind of enforce that or shape that?
So the county can negotiate whatever they want to negotiate in the contract. It's totally up to the county and how they lay that out with a developer. I do want to acknowledge, because it perked my interest when Boyd asked the question, the WB&A Trail Patuxent River Bridge connecting Anne Arundel and Prince George's County, they just had a grand opening recently, right? A ribbon cutting ceremony. And so they're working to do all of those things. The real question is, when you get on a bike to go to work, how far do you have to bike to get to work? What is in Prince George's County that really will allow folks to just work in that 2 to 5 mile radius, of their home? We have a lot of work to do. There's an article that I shared with some people in the back, and it just is what it is, that there's been significant investment in the DC metro region, excluding Prince George's County. Well, why is that? And I have the stats here, and I can let anybody look at this, but it basically says, the more African Americans, the less investment. The more Hispanics, the less investment. The more Asians, the more investment. The more whites, the more investment. Now, you can take that any way you want, but I need to go back through. I'm telling you what the stats tell you. We have to do a better job of not only promoting Prince George's County, but ensuring that anything that opens is viable and sustainable. We've had a lot of false starts. Just look at where the Magic Johnson Theater was and the vision we had for that area and how everything shut down pretty quick. And we had ball players and athletes investing in that and everything, right? So we can do all of these things together with investments. It's really the vision of the county council in putting these contracts in place. But remember, the developer typically handles a certain distance of ingress and egress.
Yes.
But the impact fees are supposed to cover the rest, those pieces. And right now you got 301 that does this. Some places opens up, some places shortens up. And then there's also the other issue of, trying to purchase property from somebody who has it and how much they're gonna hold out for and all of those things. These things happen every day, but I appreciate that. I would love for us to just be able to walk everywhere, bike everywhere, not even have to leave. And, but we have work to do to get there. But it starts off with the visioning, which is why Bowie is just so far ahead of the power curve and looking at, the different pieces. We just have to pull it all together.
Can I add a little something to that? And I think that's an important point too that we make, is that, for example, the city of Bowie itself does not have any control over the school system. Now what we do is we support it, and we have our voices heard through our county council and other things, but we don't directly have any control over the school system. So that means we have to work with them on as you talk about the fees that are collected and other things, and make sure. One of the big pluses about Bowie is we continue to support our public schools. An example being in our schools at Hope. Just recently there was a bullying incident in where a student committed suicide in a nearby county. And I was very proud of Bowie, the city of Bowie, coming forward with a grant to be able to help with bullying programs at every school located within the city of Bowie. So, we should be very proud of that, but it goes back to even what the senator is saying. We need to see where that money is, we need to see, and we need to have that impacting our schools when those developments are here in the city, And again, make sure that we see where the money is and make sure that we work collaboratively together to make sure that it's a good program that can be sustainable, but also that impacts and improves those students in the areas where those fees are paid.
Just make a quick comment about housing. Housing has been a very, very big issue and something that the governor has wanted to focus on. They put together a set of metrics that basically say the state is woefully behind in housing and workforce housing, affordable housing. We need like 32,000 units built and, you know, a variety of things. And so when you look at where those units would go, Montgomery County was able to exclude themselves from this assessment because they're moving off in their own direction. And once they look at the transit areas where the subways are, most of those houses would have to be plunked down in Baltimore County and Prince George's County. Now, what does that really mean? That means that a developer is able to exceed the density requirements as articulated by the county council and offer a certain number of those houses at a specific price point to cater to make it more affordable, right? What does that mean for our district? You know, Bowie has the highest median income anywhere in the county. And if we want to continue to be that standout, not just Bowie is the safest place to live and most diverse place, but we want to make sure our property values stay high, y'all. Yeah. All right? And so I've been very, very averse and very forceful in some of my conversations with the governor's team that you're not going to put all of these lower, not worse, but lower valued homes in Prince George's County and turn us into an area of concentrated poverty. That cannot happen. I do not want to see Prince George's become a Gary, Indiana, or Detroit, Michigan. We are Prince George's County, but this, more importantly, is the city of Bowie, and Bowie, Maryland, and 23rd District. And so when we have these conversations, I push back pretty hard, but I also have to lean to my other senators and says, look, you guys represent parts inside the Beltway, I do not. You guys, this is going to fall on you guys, it's not going to fall on us. Things outside the Beltway work a little bit differently than inside the Beltway. Some of the issues inside the Beltway don't really apply to us outside the Beltway, which is why when we have our caucuses, we have really strong debates. And one of the things we're able to do at a state level, if there is a law, I'm able to exclude the 23rd District in whole, if I think it's the wrong path to go. Unfortunately, they can't do that at the county council level, but it's the same kind of nuance. You know, what happens in Seat Pleasant might not be the same thing that needs to happen in Bowie or Fort Washington, those types of things. So I say all that just to know that if you see me as your senator pushing back on a piece of legislation, pick up the phone and ask why. Because I typically have gone through a real thought process and spoken to some key stakeholders and tried to look at the pros, cons, benefits, and where we need to go. We're talking about reimagining this and bringing more than just Alito's Pizza and a Chick-fil-A and all these chicken places here. If we really want something other than that, then we have to look different and we have to roll differently. So I just wanted to let you guys know that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Senator Watson, for the questions and answers. We are bringing this program to a conclusion. Let's again give a round of applause to our presenters. And we thank you all for attending, and we thank you for the great questions. We appreciate you. Go forth and have a wonderful week. Thank you very much.